Good day, ladies and gentlemen. When we're live on YouTube, we're going to get live on Twitter. So bear with me. I don't even know if did I repost this? I think I did. Yeah, there we go. What? Oh, yeah. I got to get it from the Telegram. That's why I'm going live early today, because I'm going live on here and then on Twitter, and it's a bit of a juggle. And the sun is changing directions. Good evening.
What's up, Banana? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Just so you know, I'm in the car right now. I have to drop something off at one of my employees' house for tomorrow that came up last minute.
Okay.
But
Nope.
It should be no different. I don't think you'll hear too much in the background. I'll pause if someone's talking if it's making too much noise.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. We all have life to live, you know?
Yeah. Just let me know. Let me know if it's making a lot of background noise or something.
Okay. So far, so good, man. I'm not noticing anything. Boy, all is quiet, man. Yeah, did you read that book when you're in school, like junior high, All Quiet on the Western Front?
Nope, never heard of that one.
It's about World War I, the trench warfare. If you can handle it, it's worth reading. But it's rough. But it's a term that I've used my whole adult life. And it's a term I'll use to describe pulse chain right now. All is quiet on the Western Front. It's just there's not a whole lot of life in pulse chain right now. And but I'm just gonna redirect my focus over to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and everything's just not doing great yet. I'm still hopeful that we're gonna get our alt season, and I'm optimistic about that.
Yeah, everything kind of pulled back a little bit today. So usually when everything pulls back in a bull market, the following day we should see a little bit of green. So hopefully we see some life tomorrow. If we are still in our bull market, right? Like I still think we are. So I think dips like this are opportunities. Obviously it can go further, and bounce from whatever level it needs to hit. I did see someone post that there's going to be an emergency meeting tomorrow. Do you know about that with Jerome Powell, I think?
Oh, I did hear something about that on Sunday. Yeah.
So who knows what that's about? Good news, could be bad news, but that might give some life back in the crypto market if some good news comes out of that randomly.
You mean bad news? Because if it's bad news, like negative news about jobs or the economy, then that would, unless I'm mistaken, that would bring eyeballs to crypto and bring money into crypto. Potentially.
Yeah, I was more thinking good news for us doesn't always mean good news for the rest of the world, right? So
there you go.
But money printers is bad for the rest of the world, good for risk on assets that have set supplies, investments, and stuff like that. So if you're not holding assets, the money printer absolutely sucks. But if you have a large portion of your value, your wealth in assets, investments, gold, stocks, Bitcoin, Ethereum, pulse chain, usually the money printer is a good thing. So not that, that's what they're talking about. Just in general, I'm just saying, you have to kind of see what side of the situation you're on, because usually there's a lot of sides to a lot of stuff going on, and some people are getting the benefit of each situation, and sadly, a lot of people are getting, the worst end of the situation.
Yeah. Well, you've really got me curious about this meeting tomorrow. Do you have any idea what time it is?
No idea. I was hoping you had more information.
I'm looking it up on Grok right now. If anybody knows, jump up. What time is the emergency meeting with Jerome Powell on Tuesday? Let's see what Grok says. $10 a.m. Eastern, so that'll be 7 a.m. where you are, 8 a.m. where I am.
Good, right in the morning. Let's get started with the news.
Yeah, I'd rather have bad news in the morning. Yeah, I don't want bad.
Any news in the morning. I'm the kind of person that anything I have to do for the day, I just want to get done as soon as possible.
Yes, yeah, that's me. And you'll find this out as you get older, but like. You've got more energy in the morning, right? In the afternoon, all your willpower is shot. You just feel like quitting sometimes. So I'm like, I got to do my most difficult work in the morning. And if I have to have bad news, I want it in the morning. Because, I got the whole day ahead of me. The sun is out, but at night before I'm going to bed, that's not a great time to drop bad news on the prairie banana. So, yeah.
So we have that. That's hopefully something good happening tomorrow. What else is going on? I had some other talking points. Oh, one thing I want to spend a little bit of time talking about today is a recent security issue that a Pulse Chain community member had. I spent a little bit of time talking with him yesterday, helping him retrieve his PTGC in the wallet that got hacked. From a fake Pulse Chain bridge. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about that. And
I talked to another one yesterday. He and I chatted. This guy did his.
It might have been the same person because he said that he talked to you first, and he needed my help about getting his PTGC out.
Oh yeah, he did message me. Yeah, a screenshot. He was having some issues unstaking it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Same guy probably.
Yes, same guy.
Yeah.
And we could kind of walk through those issues that he had. We could talk about it now or later.
Let's do it. You're talking about the Pulse. You're talking about the fake Pulse Chain bridge, guys. Don't Google for the Pulse Chain bridge. Go to pulsechain.com. I'm getting ahead of you, but I'm just like, if anybody's listening and about to make a transaction, like, do not go to, especially DuckDuckGo, and search there for the Pulse Chain bridge, because there's one there called PUSLE chain bridge. Misspelled, you'll get wrecked.
Yeah. And yes, this is the same person. So yeah, he was Googling the bridge, possibly having issues with the bridge because currently the UI for the main bridge is down. He might have been trying to search another bridge, or who knows. I didn't get that far. But connected his wallet to a malicious site, which ended up draining his entire wallet, the wallet that he connected. But what I wanted to get at was, and this is about the fourth or fifth time I've actually heard of this happening, which is sad, right, of people connecting to bad things. But every single time I get notified about this, their locked PTGC never gets touched.
Yep.
So he was actually able to revoke the DApp he connected to. So he revoked it, and then we actually were able to go in and unlock his tokens just because he didn't want to use the wallet anymore.
Yep.
And he wanted to transfer them to a new wallet. So we had to unlock the tokens early, sadly, and unstake, and then send those tokens to a new wallet. But the interesting thing about it, what I wanted to bring up is there's a lot of benefits to locking. You're obviously earning more APY. You're protecting yourself from yourself, which a lot of times is most people's worst enemy. If you look at tons of great assets, there's a very large percentage of the people that hold the great assets, majority of them sell too early. a very small percentage of them actually ride the asset to its full or close to its full potential. ETH, Bitcoin, and a lot of other great ERC20s and other blockchain tokens as well. But what I also wanted to bring up is it's not only a protection against yourself. What we found is it's also a protection against malicious actors. They're unable to figure out, maybe eventually they will figure out as we grow, but as of right now, they are unable to figure out how to get your locked tokens. So obviously, no one thinks they're going to be the one that makes a mistake in crypto until they're the one that made the mistake. You know, a lot of people click so many buttons, they become complacent, and next thing you know, you've Googled something or clicked a link, or who knows, right? Like, it happens every single day. But one thing that I do find interesting is the locking portion of PTGC has proven to protect people's PTGC more than once. I've had 4 encounters with people where their entire wallet has been drained. They've been able to revoke the bad dApp they've connected to, send a little PLS there, and get all their PTGC out into a new wallet. I think this is super cool because, like, even more cool than I am making it sound right now, I think this feature, obviously not by design, this is just designed and happened to work out in our favor. It's amazing that we can have a feature built into PTGC that can actually help, not guarantee the protection of your funds, but help protect your funds just in case a mistake is made. And the power of that, I think, is actually more important than a lot of people are talking about. The fact that we've had multiple instances where someone has done a mistake and at least still been able to save their PTGC value is amazing, I think. So I kind of just wanted to bring that up, that, you know, by locking, you are earning additional APY. You are showing strength of the ecosystem. By more people locking, it shows that we have conviction. You're protecting your asset from yourself. Emotionally, sometimes yourself is your worst enemy. Also, I think one of the most important features is protection against bad actors. The self-custody aspect of crypto is one of the best things about crypto until you're the person whose tokens get taken. Then you hate self-custody, right?
Yeah.
So this is just one thing I wanted to bring up is with self-custody comes a lot of responsibility, and this is one way that you can actually try to protect your funds a little bit more than just the standard holding them in your wallet that has been proven to actually work through real scenarios. And, you know, that wasn't obviously planned, but it's super cool in my opinion.
Absolutely. So he came on to my stream yesterday. We were almost done. And when I realized he had an urgent problem, I ended the stream immediately. You could have got into it on live on YouTube, but I was like, no, because what if the scammers were watching? I know they weren't, but I was like, I'm not going to give them any opportunity to learn how to connect to the dApp and all that stuff. So we ended the stream early. So, you know, if we're aware of this hack, if you will, it's not really a hack. It's more like it's like a safety hack. It's like a safety superpower, but we just got to keep it a little bit private, like Spaces. This platform is, I'm sure, okay. I don't know if any scammers actually listen to Spaces, but, you know, just use your head, guys. I would say when it comes to this workaround, because, you know, people's money's on the line.
It at least buys you some time, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you connect, it happens so quick, and they're trying to get the funds out while obviously you're trying to make something right. So if you can just get to revoke.cash and get that dApp revoked, by the time before they figure out how to interact with the dApp or the code to get those locked tokens, you could actually save a large portion of your portfolio. And I actually think that's a feature that is worth a ton that wasn't even intended for PTGC.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's alien tech, dude.
Yeah, Yeah,
I mean,
with self-custody, self-custody is amazing, but when stuff goes wrong, people tend to not like self-custody. And I feel like this is a really good tool built by accident within our protocol that we can actually utilize. So for anyone listening, if anything ever does happen to you, try to get to revoke.cash as soon as possible. Get rid of that access. And then I would suggest probably just trying to close that down and moving the funds to a new wallet. Even though you revoke them, you're probably good. I would probably just move it just in case. But
so the revoke.cash step, that just when you revoke that ability from that wallet, that just gives the scammer an extra step to go through, right?
Well,
or is there more to it?
You gave them access, so you most likely, when you hit confirm, you're confirming them the ability to pretty much drain your wallet, whatever they wrote there. I don't know what was written in that specific thing he confirmed, but you're not giving them your seed phrases.
Oh.
Right. So if you gave someone your seed phrases, you could try to, see if they give up. Like, I bet you there's situations where they give up, but they could probably figure it out if it's enough value of PTGC. I bet some are very lazy and maybe just move on and just think it's stuck or a broken contract or something like that. Yeah. Obviously there's people who are in PTGC and educated who have a hard enough time selling PTGC if they forget the steps they have to take. But if it's just something you've connected to, you can actually revoke the access of that connection. Usually all your other funds that are easy to sell are already wiped by the time you notice. But since there is a little bit of a process with PTGC, protecting your funds against yourself, delayed gratification, etc., it's actually protecting your funds against malicious actors that if you do make a mistake and connect to something, it has been proven. We've saved like 4 people's PTC whose wallets have gotten drained to date. Could be more.
Yeah. Okay, well, cool. I didn't know about going to the revoke.cash. So I will endeavor to do that next time. And there's another scam going around, which is a false Telegram group. So don't, go to the main group. Don't go into scam groups. There's going to be a Prairie Banana in there. There's going to be a Zen. There's going to be a Mando in the fake groups. But you just got to, where can they get the main Telegram link?
I most likely have it on my Twitter, but I don't want to say for sure.
Deck Screener. Deck Screener.
Yeah. Another great way, because sometimes you'll be in the main one and then they'll add you to fake ones and trick you into thinking the fake one's the real one.
Yeah.
Is pin, if you want to, if you don't have a lot of chats pinned already, you can actually pin the Gray's Currency chat to the top, right? So then that's the one. And in your settings of Telegram, you can actually make it to where your non-contacts can't just add you to random Telegrams. Too.
Yes. Yep. That's very important. There are so many scammers in Telegram. It's ridiculous. And new people, they're going to prey on the new people like nobody's business, boy.
Yeah, you have to realize there's scammers attacking Pulse Chain right now, and not to be rude to Pulse Chain, but there's no money even on Pulse Chain at this point. So think about how many scammers will actually come out when they see that there's actual money over here.
You ain't lying.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So definitely, now's the time to kind of get everything figured out. Be very careful. Yeah. At this point, if you have any decent values in wallets, I would never even connect to something new at this point. If you feel the need to interact with a new protocol or dApp, make a brand new wallet and just send some tokens over there. It's not worth risking the things that you have value in for picking up pennies in front of freight trains and stuff like that.
Yeah, the only people making money over on Pulse Chain are the scammers right now. It's terrible. Yeah. Did you mute yourself? I can't tell. Yeah, you muted yourself. All right, we got stuff.
Give me 1 second. I'm just dropping a couple things off.
It's all right. We're gonna go to some bookmarked stuff in X, on X, Twitter. Let me just get it pulled up, guys. And anybody can come up and talk and take up their time. So come on up. Where are my bookmark stuff? We might just wait for Zen to come back. Actually, we probably should so he can hear it. I'm sure he won't be long. How many people got in here today? Yeah, we got a small crew on Spaces. That's 16, 21 people. There were 35 last Monday. It's just how it is right now. It's all right. Joshua says, good evening, PGDC community, diamond-handed community. This dip is nothing. That's right. Look at where we came from. 78,000 X's from the very bottom. PTDC. 78,000. Make sure you go vote at plsfolio.com. I did not put my post out, so everybody needs to go do that. plsfolio.com. Go vote for Gray's Currencies. It's more important that we be in the habit of voting and do it twice a day or at least once a day than that we be in the top row.
I'm back, Banana, just so you know.
Okay. I was just telling everybody to go vote at plsfolio.com. And I got to go there right now myself. I'm real bad about voting on the weekend, I got to admit. And the evenings. It's terrible. I got a couple of posts bookmarked that I think will be good talking points.
Cool. Yeah, let's go over them.
Oops. I just voted for the wrong token. I just clicked on the button and I realized I was voting for the wrong one. Now I really have to vote for PTDC. I can't vote for another 2 hours. All right. Okay, I bookmarked 2 posts this morning, by the way. I just want to read them first because I bookmark a lot of stuff. Let me just scan it real quick. The one is from Decentralized ME, and he made a really good point. He says it's a classic flush on ETH. Wait for the weekly close, then flush immediately. These dips last days before the move up. Maximum 1 to 2 weeks before we're pumping, and RH will want to front run the recovery. And somehow I thought that was relevant for Spaces. To me, it smacked of another way that Richard Hart is flushing out weak-handed people. And probably need to read this other post that the same gentleman, Decentralized ME, titles with flush. This morning, Ethereum dropped down sharply, flushing out leverage traders, reducing sell pressure for the next move up. Whilst over on Pulse Chain, Richard is blocking those spreading negative sentiment on his posts. This is Richard cleaning house. He's flushed. Now he's flushed. Let's see. He's flushed weak hands over 4 years. Now he's flushed those who threaten to dampen the pump. Flush, then pump. I thought that was interesting because I never heard about, I've heard him shaking out weak hands by, dropping the price, but not by blocking people so much. So maybe this is another tactic that he's incorporating.
Yeah, that's why leverage trading is so difficult, is because all the time they'll just bring down the price, liquidate a ton of, upside leverage or downside leverage. And even you could be in the best market, but you'll just have those flash crashes that get instantly bought back up. which liquidates all those leverage positions. So then those leverage positions don't equal sell pressure in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously that happens all throughout bull runs. That's why a lot of people say don't take leverage unless you really do know what you're doing. Some people are very good at it. Majority of people aren't. So that's why, it is very risky. You can be in a perfect market that's going up and up and up, but there's always those flash crashes that just instantly go down, then come right back up, that liquidate position so it can keep moving up. And it makes it so the next move up is actually that much easier by liquidating them. So I actually look at quick flash crashes and liquidations like that as almost like a signal that it's getting ready to go to the next level, but we have to liquidate all of the sell pressure first.
Okay.
But yeah, Richard, I felt like specifically just baited people to write negative things in his comments and then just went through the comments and,
okay. That's funny. I'm sorry. That's funny. He's a stinker, isn't he? He really is, man. I tell you what, man.
That's what it seemed like to me, right? Like, really, he pretty much baited people, saw who said positive things, saw who wrote negative things, and then just started blocking the people who wrote negative things.
Oh man, what a character!
Right? When things get moving here, to be honest, when new people find Richard, and if price is moving up, I don't want new people to be exposed to negative people. People talking poorly about Richard, people talking poorly about Pulse Chain. Like I believe in Pulse Chain, and I want them to be exposed to the positive people on chain. That being said, I think a lot of people look at Richard's tweets, and I think a lot of people look at Richard's comments when people are scanning that stuff, thinking about investing in Pulse Chain. We definitely want it to be positive there. I think there's ways to be constructive and try to provide helpful criticism, but there's also kind of taking it too far and flooding your own bag as well.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Joshua says, PTDC on Pulse Chain is not just a project. It is a story being written, and we are the authors. The question is not whether we will succeed. The question is how far we will go together. Well said, Joshua. I love that. That's a good one, man.
Yeah, it's evolving. I'm very interested to see how PTGC evolves. Not the code, but the community and how the community uses the product over the next 10 years. A way to make sure that you're in the story or part of the journey with us is grab a small portion of your bag and lock it up 10 years with us. Doesn't have to be a crazy amount, but come along for the ride, see where it goes.
You could even lock it up 8 years because we've been running for 2. I mean, my 10-year locks, my very first ones are in February. They'll only have 8 years left. That's cool. Yeah. Man, speaking of a story, we're going to have a book here.
Or do 7 front
Yeah.
run banana.
No, don't do that. Hey, we're going to have a book here pretty soon. I was just reviewing it this afternoon because I got to put a few final edits on it. And I hadn't read it in a while. And I'm going to tell you, man, of course I wrote the book. But I try to be objective. And I'm reading this thing thinking, okay, I am not an English professor, or, I'm not very good with English. I'm not even good with writing. But I think for the average person, I think it's decently put together. I'm sure it could be massively improved. But there are so many details in this book, Zen. It's like replete with a lot of the details about PTDC and UFO. and I'm reading it and learning stuff, literally getting reminded about things from this book that I've put together. I'm excited for the community, for the people that like to learn more about the Grace Currencies, to get their hands on the book and learn it, because you can learn so much from it.
And if I understand correctly, there's kind of like almost like a timestamp with that book, right? Because where you took the data from, it's almost going to be like a piece of history looking back at where we are at that time, right? You can actually reflect back to where Banana was, where his thoughts were, what, our data charts, the data charts Banana has put together up to that point. But then a year later, technically, there's going to be more to the story. Yes,
I think I started writing it in April, or maybe March. I think it was April. And there's a period of time there where I almost quit. I mean, it's difficult writing a technical book. It's very challenging. And there was a period of time where something came up in my life and I had to like keep it on the back burner for a month or something like that. And that's when I was like, oh man, do I really need to finish this thing? But when I picked it back up was just at the perfect time, because it was at the end of August and I'd really been keeping good records from last, I think it was it was at the end of July. I was keeping good records from August last year through July this year. And it just so happened that at the time that I was like putting almost the finished touches on the books, well, on the illustrations really, is when I had an exact 12 months of data. And I was like, well, it's actually a good thing that I was delayed for a whole month, because now in this book we have, like you said, we have a 12-month snapshot of PTDC in the illustrations.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Hey, so I got a question. Vets, how you guys doing?
Hey, Vets.
Yo. As to locking, when you lock for X period of time, is it a simple lock? Are you locking, a multiplier of shares the longer you go, versus is there a 90-day minimum? How does that kind of work? What benefits are there to locking?
Shoot, Banana.
Okay. You can lock anywhere from 90 days out to 10 years, and it's tiered. So if you lock for 90 days, you're going to keep 55% of the locking rewards. And those are the people that end their locks early. When somebody ends a lock early, the contract sends all the other lockers 30% of their principal, regardless of the token price. So, and locking is a superpower. So you can lock anywhere from 90 days to 10 years. There's a couple of things you will want to consider when you're locking. If you lock 1 day into the next higher tier, you'll earn from that tier. You may as well go 7 days, lock 7 days in the next higher tier, and then you're going to earn from that tier. And then, like one of the things that I recommend is not locking up a huge bag, but maybe breaking it up into smaller ones. So if you ever decided you wanted to nuke a lock, you're not nuking one big lock and paying a heavy penalty on one, but on smaller ones.
Right. Yeah, make a ladder, if you will.
Yep, you can make a ladder. And your rewards are liquid. Your locking penalty rewards, they will come sporadically. Sometimes we'll have a big wave of unlocking rewards. And I think, honestly, Vets, as we go up in the cycle, as the value of this token goes up, I think people are going to be nuking their locks. Like that's what I think.
Definitely. And so to just reiterate, if you do half, if you do 1 year and you do half of that, you get your principal back, but 1% as well also goes to the stakers. Or do I have that mixed up?
Well, if you did like half your bag of PTDC, is that what you're talking about?
No, just a half a year.
Half a year. Okay. Yeah. Yep. So you're going to do like 180 days.
Yeah.
And you can leave it indefinitely. after your 180 days are over, and you're still going to earn your lock-in rewards, your staking rewards, and your reflections. And you
That's huge. That's awesome.
That's a big deal. That's really cool. And then you can end that lock at any time. And somebody had a bad experience unlocking just a couple weeks ago. He waited. He was like watching the clock until his lock was mature. And like as soon as he thought it was mature, he ended it. And he ended up nuking 30% of it. He made a mistake. That was completely, user error. But our recommendation for ending locks is like, just cool your jets for a couple days and make sure that you've fulfilled your time, but those your rewards will sit in your wallet and you can take them home anytime you want. You can claim your rewards. Now, if you're in a 90-day lock, like if you did 180 days, that would be less than 1 year. So you would keep 55% of your locking rewards. So if you were rewarded 1,000 tokens, for example, and then you went to claim them, you would take home 550 tokens. Those would be yours. That's your 55%. And the rest gets sent to the dead address, reducing the supply.
Short of the 1% that goes back to the existing stakers?
You're talking about like if you end your stake, that's different.
Okay.
There are three ways you can earn.
Yeah. Please clarify. Yep, I'm already messing it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Locking. Yeah.
Okay, you can earn 3 ways with PTDC. You hold the tokens to earn reflections. The next step is you can stake, and that's where you're talking about paying 1%. If you end your stake, you will pay 1% to all the other stakers. Stakes have no time commitment. It's just you stake your tokens, and just like with locking, your yield is liquid. You can take it out of the contract into your wallet, and it'll start earning reflections. And then the third way that you can earn with PTDC is by locking. And if you want to lock tokens, you got to stake them first.
Right. Okay. That's a caveat. Yes. Goes hand in hand. And then in regard, gonna switch guns. So
okay.
on UFO, all right.
Yeah.
Now on the UFO side, hey, one of my favorites. When do you have to be in the DApp, or can you just hold liquid UFO in your wallet and you'll earn reflections that way?
Yep. You can hold liquid UFO and you'll earn reflections. If you want to see your earnings, you can just tally it up daily, or just write it down and see how much you have more the next day, or you can go to the DApp, pulsetgc.com. If you do any LPing, you definitely need to use the DApp, because if you go to PulseX, you're going to bypass the DApp and you won't get the LP rewards.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. It's a huge saver, because you're saving, what is it, 5% when you use the DApp for setting up LPs, versus if you went to PulseX and set up an LP, you're
6%. Yep.
6,
yeah. 6% for UFO.
Significant, man.
Yeah.
So might as well save it. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what asset you pair with on the DApp, what RH ticker. There are 7 of them. I don't recommend pairing with PTDC and UFO, because you will pay the fee for both of those assets going in.
Right.
But and you get your standard PulseX V2 liquidity, providing liquidity rewards. And then there's something a little magical that happens, that has happened a couple of times. Like anybody listening right now, if you paired UFO and eHex recently, like maybe even in recent months, you might be able to increase your share rates. And it's the share rates that determine how much rewards you get. And the way you can do that is you go into the DApp and you see how many UFO shares you have. And let's say you have 1 million. You got 1 million UFO shares. That's because you put 1 million UFO into an LP. But then if you have an LP with eHex, and eHex has been running up a bit, then you go over to Pulse X V2 and see how much UFO is in that LP. And because EHEX has been running up against UFO, that means people are depositing UFO in your LP. So there's a chance that you have more UFO in LP than you have UFO shares. And since it's the shares that determine how many rewards you get, check this out. You can literally unpair your UFO EHEX. If indeed you have, make sure you got more UFO than you have UFO shares, unpair that LP, pair it right back up. And for the cost of gas, you can increase your share rate.
Damn, that's one hell of a pro tip right there. And everyone's got their own reasons. But yeah, I mean, if EHEX is going up in price, you know, you're going to have more of the other thing, right? So obviously the benefit of LPing something is hopefully you're doing it and you like both sides of that, right? So, but yeah, that's a win-win right there. That's good.
Yeah, we helped a guy do that a couple of weeks ago. We were on stream or on Spaces on Saturday and walked him right through it. And he increased his shares by 10%. And I'm like, dude, that means you just increased your passive income from that LP by 10% for as long as you hold that LP.
And the icing on the cake is PLS rewards.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I haven't had to get by. I was always running out of gas, man. I was always having to go buy PLS, but
right.
Not since I've had my LPs. They've been paying me PLS for over a year now. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not into validating, that's, you know, just anything. I mean, passive income's where it's at. It's a beautiful thing. Earning it while you sleep and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. And like what a lot of people will do, vets, is they will hold some UFO liquid and then LP some, because the rewards are just different. I mean, if you hold UFO, you're earning UFO. If you LP it, you're earning PLS. You know, the UFO shares are the superpower of the UFO side of things. Like over in PGDC, the superpower is the locking, and it's user centric. Like it's a benefit to you. In UFO, the superpower is the share rate, and it's user centric. And the share rates are going to become, you know, very, we think they're going to become very desired. Like, for example, I don't know if you're looking on YouTube, but I'm showing for the YouTube audience an unpairing simulation. Check this out. So I literally I made a 1 million UFO pairing in May of 2024 as an experiment, because Shaka Vibes is like, well, I think these UFO shares are going to be something. And so I was like, okay, we'll see. And I made this pairing, and I go to it. Let's see. I think I did it in August. I went to the DApp. I'm like, okay, there's my 1 million UFO shares. And then I went over to Pulse X V2, and I'm like, wow, it's down to 261,000 UFO. Bummer, I lost my UFO, but I didn't lose any UFO shares, right? So I was like, okay, well, what if I unpaired this thing? And then I decided I wanted the passive pulse rewards so bad that I just wanted to pair it back up. Well, if I unpaired it, I would have had 261,000 UFO and 224,000 PLS. And then if I needed to repair it, I would have to buy the difference. I would have to buy like almost 700,000 UFO and about 775,000 PLS to get that original share rate back. And it would cost me, you know, I think at the time it would have cost me, and this, a million UFO isn't very much. And it would have cost me something like $36 additional to set up the LP after it had been in place for a year. So yeah, the UFO shares are going to become valuable. And I wanted to talk to, I don't know, Zen, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Real quick, because you're saying how much additional value it was going to cost you. How much, can you tell everyone, do you know how much you spent on that UFO position to get those shares to start? Like, was that an increase, like to re-get those shares because the UFO share rates are valuable, or is that costing you like 2x the amount of money, or how much did it cost you at the start to make that share rate?
I'll be embarrassed to tell you, it only cost $3.20.
So those UFO shares pretty much are worth 10 times the amount of money now.
Yeah. Yep. And we've done nothing. Well, UFO has done something, but not as not.
No, they're worth more than 10 times. It will just 10 times more to even get those shares back.
Uh-huh. Yep. It would definitely cost me money to get the shares back. And Pulse Chain hasn't done anything yet. So what is going to happen to the UFO shares that people have now once Pulse Chain runs, and the value of Pulse and UFO increases, and all the RH tickers that these UFO tokens are bonded with? What is the value of those UFO shares going to be? And I wanted to talk to you about that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the value of, like, if you were to put a value on UFO shares, it would be the value of the UFO and the PLS in the pair, and then the cost to regain the shares for each side if you unpaired it and repaired it. You put those two together, and that would be the value of the UFO shares, I think. Does that make sense? Or how would you value UFO shares?
So it does depend situation, but it's 100% the cost of UFO and the cost of the other ticker, right? So the other half. And the UFO shares that you have right now, let's say they're worth $1,000. You have $500 of UFO, and you have $500 of PHEX. Those 500 UFO, the 500 UFO that you have is 500 UFO shares. So those 500 UFO shares, $500. UFO is a lot cheaper than 500 or one UFO to $1. But let's say for the $500 you have 5,000 UFO in that LP, and that means that you for $1,000 have 5,000 UFO shares. If UFO increases in price, of UFO per pulse is going to increase. So automatically your UFO shares are going to be worth more because you locked them in was cheaper against its paired assets or against PLS. What we also have to consider is everything moving up, right? Pulse moves up. That's going to move up the price of UFO, and that's going to move up the price of Pulse. Let's say everything 10x'd and UFO didn't increase at all in this example, Pulse. It's that ratio just stayed even. Everything moved up 10x. Well, a new user coming in the future to get the same amount of UFO shares than this person that today, he would actually have to spend 10 times the amount of value. So he would have to get $5,000 of UFO and $5,000 of PL to get the same amount of UFO shares. And that's not even including if UFO increased in price faster than, the connected assets. So that's one reason why if you look at assets on chain right now as passive income machines, you want, passive PTTC, you want passive UFO, you want passive Pulse chain, and the asset itself is the miner. So what we're creating here on Pulse chain, what Richard kind of created with T-shares, is the asset itself is the miner. So the only way you're going to get the value in our ecosystem, it doesn't come from inflation. It comes out of the value generation. But if you want a piece of the value generation, the cheaper PTG UFO is, the more percentage of that supply you're going to get with less value, right? It's a deflationary supply, so there's less and less PTGC every UFO every single day, and currently the pulse chain price in general is extremely low. We're seeing today might not be the lowest price ever, right? If the assets have been out for 2 years, it might not even be the lowest price until we go up. Pulse might go a little lower, PTGC might go a little bit lower, UFO might go a little bit lower. But in general, I think that these ranges are very, very cheap. If you're just looking for X's, or if you're looking to get your hands on passive income machines, because if Pulse Chain becomes successful, if Hex becomes successful, if PulseX becomes successful, if PTGC, if UFO becomes successful, what you're locking yourself in is to these passive income machines at discounted prices. Because in the future, let's say you put $10,000 into UFO and PTGC, you're getting a percentage of the supply. And that percentage of the supply is your percentage of the APY. So every single day there's APY generated, and the percentage of the supply you have is the percentage of the APY. Well, if Pulse Chain or PTGC UFO runs up 20x from here, for someone to come and get the same APY machine that you have, they're going to have to spend 20 times more to get the same APY generator as you. Or, if you only care about X's, you're now up 20x. What they have to spend is 20x more to get that same amount of value. If you consider Pulse Chain, PTGC, and UFO store value systems, what you're technically in is you're the guy who's taking advantage of ETH at $10, and you get the price appreciation, and now you're even sitting in the asset that everyone wants to store value in, right? Where a lot of people are actually valued at crypto right now to store value in it due to its scarcity and liquidity, etc. Well, a lot of people don't actually have, back in the day, they didn't millions of dollars in to get millions of dollars of ETH and Bitcoin. They just had to speculate on it early and then get the price appreciation. The benefit to our system is we have APY built into the code as well. So you're not only getting the price appreciation, but your APY would increase naturally with the increase of whole entire blockchain along with PTDC and UFO.
Yeah. Do you have any idea why the bridge is down?
Say that again?
Do you have any idea why the bridge is down?
Not really. I know of a UI issue. I don't fully understand why it's taken so long for the UI issue to be fixed, and other front ends fine, but I assume they're probably not getting it fixed right away because they want to battle test it and make sure it's all functioning properly before they let the very large community connecting to it. That bridge is pretty much the whole entire value of the chain. So I definitely hope they take their time in getting that resolved before just pushing things out for quick turnaround.
Right. And we can always use Liberty Swap in the meantime. And I think there's another one too.
I've heard of a few. For me, I'm not connecting to anything else. I'm not in a rush to get money right in. I'm not in a rush to get money out. So I'm fine kind of waiting.
Yeah.
If you are in a rush to get money in or out, my first one I would probably go to would be Liberty Swap, just because I've heard of so many people having such a good experience with them.
Yeah.
But again, I'm at the point in crypto where the amount of dApps I connect value to, the better.
Yep.
And the dApps that I do connect to, I want audits, I want battle tested. I don't really think anyone should be connecting things the first day they come out. Wait for some audits to come out, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep.
especially with wall amounts of money in it. And if you do feel the need that you have to connect to something, use a wallet that has nothing, do the transaction, and then send the transaction to the wallet that you actually want the value in after you're done.
Yeah. Every transaction in crypto is permanent. You want to make sure you're doing good ones. And we're not FDIC insured. We can't just call an 800 number and get our money back. It's rough, man. But it's because it's rough, which is why there's so much opportunity over here. That's the reason. So I think we're holding up pretty good in ratio against polls on the daily. I mean, for the last 8 days, we've been holding up pretty well against polls.
Yeah, we're kind of sitting around the 7 range. I think this is pretty close to our previous like microcycle low, or our like new low that we've created a few months ago. And it seems like we're finding some success right here, some strength right here. Definitely some good demand. I saw some new wallets coming in around these levels. How I look at it is I think it's a great place for people to enter in if you're looking for a discount to be exposed to PTGC. And also if anyone that wants to leave, they're kind of selling at a cheaper price. So they're having to give up their PTGC at a lower price than what I think it should be valued at. But what this creates is it's an opportunity for us to onboard. Mm-hmm. It's an opportunity for us to get in real life people in. It's an opportunity for us to get people on Pulsion that we're just patiently waiting for it. Sadly, when the dip comes, a lot of times they're not as like, oh, I need to grab that. They usually say that when prices are green and pumping. But it's a great point where we can if you were looking to expose yourself to this asset, like, here's some great levels. We've bounced off of these levels hard before. Currently, there's lack of value even flowing into Pulsion. Every time value starts flowing into Pulsion, we really hard. For an example, the last time Pulsion made its low and pushed up to, I think, just right above SAC price, PTGC got right up to its all-time high against Pulsion. We're at like 20-1 ratio. Mm-hmm. Sadly, energy on chain started drastically pulling back. You can see that right now. We're like 50% down on Pulsion, or more on PTGC. More. Yeah. So the energy wasn't there to push past that resistance. More value started flowing out than coming in. But what that tells me is it does what we want it to do. When value starts flowing in, we start pushing up. And so every time previously, that's what we've done. So that's what we can study. And then on top of that, right now, we've actually been saving up funds in the DAO. So when we see this value starting to flow in, we can actually help our protocol push up even higher, utilizing, PLS that we have in the DAO, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And hopefully by pushing at a strategic time, that can help us showcase the power of front of the new users coming in. When PLS starts moving up, that what that means to me is new values flowing in, which users could be the richer or insiders also, but PLS moving up means value actually flowing on chain. And what we do know is when value flows on chain, usually this means new users, and those new users and that value wanting to find other places to store it besides just chain. This is why it makes strategic sense for us to kind of hold back, wait for the opportunity to use our ammunition, like our DAO and stuff like that, more likely to hit a target, right? When you are in a battle situation or whatever, just because you have ammo, but you don't see any users to shoot the ammo at, you don't just start shooting it. You wait until you actually see the, et cetera. So that's kind of the plan right now. Right now, lack of new users on chain. Everyone's on chain. Everyone's on Twitter that's here. You can see the morale super, super low. PTGC is still doing what it's doing today, pretty much with UFO. Ink went up a little bit today, and that was a great value generation source. Ink moved up. I think it was like 8K of volume in that specific pair. None of that volume was from human interaction. All of that comes from the market maker. It's obviously not an extreme amount of volume, but it just showcases that in crypto, there's always these weird little movements, volatility, shifting of value, ratio trading going on. 99% of products, none of that value actually goes to the user or the price of the asset. Tokens can go sideways for years, just shifting up and down, and none of that shifting goes to the holders or goes to the price of the asset. They just land in the exact same spot a year later, months later, 2 years later, and there's no actual growth. Yeah, maybe some holder count growth, some distribution of asset a little bit more, but for the most part, nothing's really happening there. But with our ecosystem, not only as we move up and down, but as the assets around us move up and down, we're taking the value and we're actually making it for scarce, adding that value into LP, and rewarding our holders the entire
time. Zen, Banana, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going, Coon Dog?
Hey guys, how you going? Just to add to that, then, like, I'm just talking about the market in general, and you were talking about the DAO and needing to use those funds, use those funds at the right time, and it wouldn't be very advantageous to use them at times of very low volume and everything else. I agree with that, and then taking that broadly as well, or even wider, looking at Richard Hart and where he's at with everything. I mean, if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't be using funds at the moment either until ETH really gets into all-time high territory, into the 5,000-6,000-ish price range. So, in terms of timing, I think that's what's going on at the moment as well across Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not time yet. But obviously, looming hopefully very, very soon in the future.
I 100% agree. I think it's not only the price. There's two pros of it. We want the revaluation of the price, so we want revaluation of PLS. Richard wants revaluation of ETH, but it's also, when you start pumping your ecosystem, you want to make sure that there's a client that you're advertising to. If ETH isn't going up, if PLS is going up, what that means, honestly, in a chart is there is no new user. So there is no new user to advertise to. So why would you even do it right then? In the past, what Richard did was he waited for ETH to go decently past all-time highs, and then that's when he started to, or the community, whale wallets, whatever, started to push the price up to then attract the new retail flowing in, the new clients that are buzzing around crypto. But as of right now, you can actually feel there's not a lot of retail flowing into crypto. So the people that we are just not here yet. It would be the same if in a war situation, you felt the need to just shoot some ammo off, even though you don't even see your enemy at that point.
Yeah, totally, man. I completely agree with that. And I think it'll be wasteful for, PTGC, UFO to use the DAO funds now. And then similarly, it's useless if Richard Hart starts injecting funds into the ecosystem to pump up where the volume isn't there to come in and utilize it, and then start a snowball effect. But I got to be honest, timing wise, I'm so surprised we're still at this point. The whole crypto market, Ethereum being below all-time highs, it has taken a lot longer this cycle to really get Ethereum and the rest of the crypto altcoins really surging all together. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next, basically September was still a wreck September. So October, really, hopefully that's going to be the catalyst.
Yeah, Pumptober. I hope so.
October.
Yeah,
But
we'll see, man.
yeah, it's just you know, you just can't time markets. Nobody can time markets. They don't care about anyone else. They do it in their own time. And yeah, I mean, look at the rate cuts. Everyone thought that was going to be a push up, and it was another. You know, the market had already baked it in, and so it's just time. It's just time again. It's just not ready yet. But like we know, you know, this market can bleed everyone out over 3, 6, 9, almost 12 months. And then within a week, everything changes.
Yep.
Sentiment, volume, everything can just switch within a week. Marketing, total crypto marketing, Ethereum marketing, pulse chain marketing can all happen very quickly.
Yeah, speaking of volume, I was looking at the volume for today compared to where we were last year. We're literally up $40,000. I don't know what the average is yet for, well, actually, I was looking at the average on Look Into, and the average so far for the month of September is $40,000 per day above where we were in September of 2024. So yeah, everything's like, we think that everything's worse. It is like worse now. I think, in my opinion, it's worse now. The sentiment and everything on Pulse Chain, yet PTDC is averaging more volume.
Yeah, totally. Banana, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And it's just that waiting game. And it's
It really
I can
is.
see people are still capitulating. There's not many left to capitulate in this ecosystem. But it's still getting to a few people, even at these times.
Yeah,
There's
even
not many left.
even with millions of mailers going out, you know.
Even with all the bullish news that we know and all the
Everything.
all
Yeah.
the tricks up our sleeve compared to any other ecosystem. Yes, it's still happening.
Well, it's a battle.
And then the tweets coming out from RH lately, and you know, people like, you know, the Moon King poking the bear and really trying to get a reaction out of him and starting to a little bit. Yeah, it's funny to watch. It's funny to watch.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It already is interesting, man. But, you know, if you're content just holding your bags, you know, then you're fine. But if you're in a hurry to get that Lamborghini, you know, you might be disappointed.
Well, I think that's
one thing that I find very nice about being in PTDC and the fact that even though we're in a waiting game, and I was kind of just talking about this with, you know, how the web and how we're generating value every single day, some days better than others. But in most other assets, your waiting game is either you getting your percentage of supply is constantly decreasing if it's an inflationary asset. So the longer it takes, it's actually suppressing your growth. With this asset, the longer it takes, your percentage of supply is always increasing, not even APY wise, because it's a decreasing supply every single day. So as is generating revenue, it's paying APY, so you're earning more tokens. If you look at a standard asset, I'll use ETH for an example just because of how big it is. If you have been holding ETH for the last 2 years compared to PTGC, let's take away the growth, right? Like we know PTGC is up way more just because it was a smaller asset. We believe mechanically it's been designed to appreciate faster than ETH due to specific features being amplified. Think of it as if you look at it's the same.
Zen, your phone has been breaking up. You're going to have to rewind.
Has increased.
Zen, you got to rewind about 15 seconds.
Sorry, what happened?
We were losing you for probably 15 seconds.
Oh, my bad. I was just saying if you have your ETH bag and your PTGC bag, you're looking at them side by side. You've been holding both for 2 years. Your percentage of supply that you hold in PTGC is up for 2 reasons. One, because you've actually gotten more tokens with every single transaction, and also because the percentage of supply has decreased with every single transaction. And then when you look at your ETH bag, your quantity of tokens has not increased at all, and the supply has actually increased. So you're constantly getting diluted by more supply coming out. So the waiting game, yes, I know everyone's super tired of it, but there is specific assets that makes the longer you wait actually makes more likely for the next pump to be that much bigger, because there's something happening behind the scenes to actually make it to where those pumps are more sustainable and larger due to, the fundamentals of PTGC. Not guaranteeing them, but making them more likely mechanically.
Yeah, Zen, and just to add to that, I mean, obviously PTGC and UFO are those assets. PulseX is an asset like that because it's deflationary, and even Pulse Chain now with the mechanics behind it. And that's why, like, going back to our last discussion, I mean, that was the main reason I got into crypto. I didn't get into crypto back in 2020 to 2021 because I was chasing meme coins straight away. I got into crypto because I saw Bitcoin. There was a 21 million supply. I could see what was happening in the real world in terms of our governments, the global financial system, and how it was just so fractured and broken, how we would get smashed. They would tell us every year 2 to 3% inflation, when in reality it's not 2 to 3% inflation where the dollar's getting weaker and weaker. It's actually more like 9 to 10% if you. And I don't want to go into that, but that could be for another discussion. So over a span of like 15 or 16 years, you actually lose about 80% of your entire wealth if you keep it in the dollar. So I didn't get into crypto for, chasing meme coins. I got into crypto because there's got to be a better way to park your capital, park your money where it grows for you without having to like start a business with, in the real world, or a second or a third, and you just want to invest. And that's where I've never to this point even heard about anything similar to PTGC and UFO. How well you can park your value and your value just increases daily over time, even when there's low volume here on the chain. Yeah, okay, we don't get as many rewards or increase in tokens as we do when the volume increases, but we're still getting them. Supply is reducing, our tokens are increasing, and on top of that, when the volume starts coming back in, the machine just ramps up significantly, and you just start seeing the coins trickle in a lot quicker. So yeah, couldn't agree more, man. I didn't get into crypto for chasing rugs and memes and everything else, even though that's fun. But I got into it to purchase Bitcoin with a substantial amount of dollars, follow Richard Hart and understand his principles now, but then find something amazing at inception, like PTGC and UFO, because we're still very early, and getting convicted. So yeah, still here, not going to go anywhere. If it takes another 6 months, I'll still be here. Takes another 12 months, I'll still be here. But I think the time for this cycle anyway, and we don't even know how big a bear market there is going to be on the next cycle, because Bitcoin hasn't done a 40-50% retracement this cycle. It's only done 20% retracements. So maybe it does just keep stair-stepping over the next couple of years. Who knows?
Izzy Money says, the win with PTDC isn't just the APY, it's the scarcity. It doesn't feel like it at first, but it's actually pretty cool. I stopped focusing on the dollar value and started looking at the token value. That's a good point, Izzy. I love that scarcity myself too. I think we're up to 12.7% burned.
Yeah, the scarcity side of it, right? It's already so scarce, and without any coming out in the future, right? Even with Bitcoin, even with Hex, they are scarce assets compared to fiats, right? But we are much like on purpose making the scarcity like a very much a number one priority, because if Pulsion gets any bit of adoption, right? Let's say the user base goes from 10,000 daily users, which I think it's currently close to 100,000 daily users, which would be a 10x of user base, which honestly isn't even that much. But a 10x the user base, but there's 3 to 4% of the supply of PTGC even for purchase. And it will be less and less every single day as long as large players are not putting large amounts of PTGC into the liquidity pool. Obviously, if a big player sells, like we've seen somewhat recently, a whale pretty much, or half a whale sold his entire position pretty much, you're going to have an increase of PTGC in the liquidity pool. But what this gives is an opportunity for new users, right? It's not going to be, you're going to have situations where new users find out about PTGC and they're looking for a discount, right? There's going to be new users that find out about PTGC a month from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 4 years from now. And discounts are opportunities for those to actually get in. So that's why right now where we are at PTGC, I think it's very important to keep educating, to keep on board, because these opportunities do not last forever. And very, very quickly, as we did a few months ago, we went from against Pulse all the way up to pretty much our all-time high against Pulse in a matter of just a couple. So that very easily can happen again. Value flowing in. And the value might not stop flowing in like it has previously. Currently, the pumps have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller for the last 2 years. There is a situation happening on where I feel like we're being suppressed, maybe not by a figure, but just by the market. Every time we pump, it's been going to not higher levels, and our lows have actually been going lower. And any asset on the chain can feel that. If you look at most assets on chain, they either look completely dead or they've just been falling ever since the early days of the blockchain. And that's obviously not sustainable. But what we still see with PTGC is that chart is working in the right direction. We are hitting, these levels, like this ratio, or I think we're currently at a 70 mil market cap. In my opinion, these are amazing opportunities for new users to get in. This could be actually like the last call to get into PTGC before prices disappear rapidly. Like Pulse Chain can start going up 10x in a matter of weeks. And imagine to get that same size position of PTGC, it costing 10 times more or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that, Zen, I think it's the whole situation where pressure's building. So you've got that balloon below water, and the more you suppress the price, the longer it takes, the more the suppression, then the bigger the upburst, when it does actually break the trend line and starts pushing up. And I think those things we were mentioning before around Ethereum needing to be in all-time highs, and the market, the greater market, really needing to start getting excited again, and all of those elements need to start happening. I think that all sort of needs to line up where then our chain will eventually have this time.
Like before X launched, a lot of people were able to I forget the word Richard used, but transform into Hex, right? Transform your ETH. And people were, I think on the first day, it was like 21,000 ETH was transformed into Hex. which pretty much meant like a private exchange of hex tokens for ETH. And the funny thing about this situation is Richard has pretty much already done the pulse chain sacrifice once before with hex. It wasn't a sacrifice though where you had to wait for the product to come out years later. You're just transforming your ETH for that hex. But where I kind of lean on, randomly when ETH started going into all-time highs, hex started pumping like crazy. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think some of the ETH that was transformed from those direct wallets, but other wallets started buying the heck out. Just really look at Pulse Chain's price is right now and think, okay, it's anywhere. I think we have to have ETH breaking into all-time highs, and I think magically Pulse Chain will just start increasing in price rapidly at those levels. Because it's not like we're in a situation where this kind of goes for TGC too, because all of these this previous history to go off of, the blockchain that we're built on, the previous asset that was developed, we can actually study that in depth and make an educated guess on how he or his protocols are going to act at certain points in the market. Same with PTGC, right?
Totally. I agree. And so it's also funny to watch CZ and the Binance chain, him starting to market his chain a bit earlier than other chains or happening now, and to see how that will actually unfold with the market sentiment the way it is across the board. But yeah, because we're an EVM of Ethereum really just needs to get going. I mean, it's not just that; it's the fact that all of the investor funds have been invested into Ethereum, so the increase of that, is just bullish for the entire Pulse chain and PTGC and UFO, obviously. But Ethereum just
I think the biggest thing is I think it's clear that a large amount of Richard's funds from hex transformation people he took in. You could get free hex if you had Bitcoin, but you couldn't get free hex if you just had ETH. You had to actually transform your ETH into hex, which was giving wallets that RH or someone has control over your ETH. So there's a lot of value there if it wasn't all used. That Richard, just because of how he started talking, he went heavier in ETH over Bitcoin. And then we know for a fact that at all the places where you think Richard has large lump sums of funds or where our ecosystem has large lump sums of funds, it's all in ETH, in my opinion. It's like majority just sitting in ETH. So the ETH price, Richard cares about the ETH Vitalik for sure.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So, really, October, November, if I was a betting man, I'd be like, okay, well, we're going to see fireworks over those 2 months somewhere. Whether it's the beginning of October or it ends up just shooting up towards the, mid to late November. It's anyone's guess, but yeah, I'd be very surprised if we don't see an uptrend in ETH by then.
Yeah, there's an emergency meeting tomorrow. Hopefully, it has some good news in it with Jerome Powell.
With Jerome Powell, is it?
Yeah.
Let's check that out. Other than that, yeah, you're right. There's no new funds flowing, or not much funds flowing throughout the Pulse chain ecosystem. So it's just a waiting game. You can't expect assets.
It's pretty much like at all-time low funds.
Yeah.
The easiest place to look is just look at PLS's price. Look at where we started. Look at where we were week 1 of Pulse Chain. We were legitimately 10x higher than we are right now.
Wow.
It's just knowing that, there's been people, but everyone that's being onboarded constantly just getting priced, it just creates a rough scenario. But that can change very rapidly. But we do need price to start moving up. We need current investors to be sitting in profit, feeling good, feeling like it's actually an investment, right? When you're in an investment, you want that to be up in any investment. If you buy a house, if you buy property, if you go into stock, the last thing you want is to put money in something and then a year later, 2 years later, 4 years later, for it to be down 5%, let alone 60.
Yeah, and that's the other side of the argument as well, Zen. I mean, it is a bit strange how RH has allowed, or whoever's controlling the market makers, have actually allowed the shaking out of the hands and everything else, all the weak investors. But for all of the holders and the believers that are still here, to still be that low in terms of their initial investment, because I could be sitting around day one sack now, and you probably shaked out. Shaked out the weak hands that you needed to. But,
yeah, how I think he looks at it is he's giving the believers a cheaper opportunity than anyone else to fill their positions, especially to believers who obviously still have jobs and stuff like that. He's actually given them a very large amount of time to consistently DCA into what we believe in is amazing product. It's not like a situation where you only had 2 weeks to DCA. It's like, well, how much value could have I gotten in 2 weeks? Like, a lot of people live on a budget and stuff like that. So he's actually created the situation to where the believers have had enough time to actually get a decent amount of his asset at discounted prices. And the non-believers who maybe had too much have had to sell their asset at a cheap price. In a super unique spot to where he has so much money, it doesn't matter how low it goes, how low sentiment gets. It doesn't matter if everyone sold the asset. He could always bring the price back up. He has that much value. But his value is in an asset that is fluctuating heavily. So he's actually strategically for the asset that he holds, which he's loaded in, to go to levels that a 30% is obviously possible. A 2x increase is obviously possible with ETH this cycle. This is a difference of, what $750 million of just the SAC wallet today. That's that's $1.5 billion if it 2x'd. That's a huge difference in value for just being patient. And I personally think how he looks at it is, I'm going to do this when the value of the asset I'm holding is at the price. And you can either buy the discount in this discounted range, or you can sell the discount in this discounted range. Believers are going to increase position size. And when the market comes to us, that's when it's go time.
yeah, that's actually a good way of looking at it. I've never thought about it that way, because my thought process was, investors could have parked their money somewhere else, anywhere else, except for Pulse Chain, and it would be up whatever it is compared to Pulse Chain at the moment. So, but Richard Hart does care about the small investors. He cares about the day-to-day working class, and he wants to make sure that he rewards the ones that are believers and that aren't exploiting the system. So yeah, totally. I never thought of it that way. And unfortunately, I'm not in that position where I get too excited once I latch onto something that I know is an amazing asset, like Pulse Chain, like PTGC and UFO. I just end up going all in. But I'm sure others have been able to DCA even at these levels over this time, even up to now. So yeah, hats off. That is a good way of looking at it.
I look at it both ways all the time, right? Like I also look at it as, hey, users could have just DCA'd into been in or Bitcoin and been in a better situation right now than they are currently with their investment. They could have obviously pinged off half of that investment, brought it over to RH tickers and had a way larger of a position, right? Like there is both sides to look at it, but how I like to look at it is imagine this situation. Imagine us as being the PTGC is sitting right this second, right? PTGC is sitting at a fairly low point. And how I look at it is if someone who is in PTGC wants to leave, they're more than welcome to leave at this valued price. I think it's somewhat low. I think they're giving up their PTGC for too cheap, but that's up to the user. But if a new user comes along, they're actually being able to be exposed to PTGC, obviously not at like the very bottom, but what I think is a very fair and good entry point compared to where this is going. Obviously, we could tap into the DAO funds right now and get this thing back up to higher levels to maybe make investors feel better. But is that what is best for the protocol? Not necessarily. For that PLS to rebound a bit, we could wait market to get a little bit better as far as sentiment goes. We can actually wait for retail to come in before shooting that ammo. Richard's even in a better spot than that. That would be like us having hundreds of billions of PLS, not 8 billion or whatever we have.
I was going to say he's got a huge amount of
So he doesn't even have to play the game where he cares about keeping users like educated and understanding the system because we want to onboard. Into where like if he wanted to push his assets up, if he actually wanted to get glory, he could literally wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to get glory right now today. PTGC, not to be negative, but we understand what PTGC, we know what PTGC does. And I'll be straight with everyone. I can't wake up tomorrow and say, hey, I'm going to get glory right now. I'm going to send PTGC up 100x. I have to rely on the code base and the machine of PTGC to get us to those levels eventually. And I think that's why a lot of people love PTGC. But how I took advantage of what I believe Richard can do is we bonded ourselves with his assets. So if one day Richard does wake up and say, hey, I want glory today, glory that day too. That's the awesome part about being bonded so heavily to his assets. But he literally is the situation, and this is a pro and a negative thing, right? Is he can do anything he wants to his assets at any point in price, related to price-wise. Related to code, not really. Hex will run. Price-wise, though, he controls it.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And also the fact that, once ETH really is on that $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 region of all-time highs, just across the crypto industry, everyone's going to be, who are invested now, are going to be in profits on whatever they're in. So they're going to have spare change that they're going to want to start throwing around. And then I see that also as where, new investors will come across into Pulse Chain and find the best assets like us here and start parking their profits into these assets, which are still very speculative, still very contrarian, yet are getting momentum and, starting to get their name out there. So, yes, couldn't agree more.
I had a question about the OA with Richard. I know already ETH 166,000. How come you guys think that he never just staked it and just took the stake money and put it into the chain?
Why do I think he never did?
Yeah.
I would say probably just doesn't feel like interacting with other smart contracts for a 10% APY is it. I think he probably would rather just have it in cold storage or something like that and wait for the revaluation of ETH itself, knowing that revaluation will most likely supersede the APY that he'll receive from validating, etc. A lot of staking protocols, like validating, I'd say probably is the safest. A lot of staking protocols, you're technically giving up custody of your ETH to earn the APY. So you're letting someone else have your ETH, letting them do something with that ETH and paying you an APY for doing so. And then you can get that claim check on it.
Yeah, and he was completely against
Those
that as well. So giving up
against that,
giving
yeah,
up points.
That's one thing I find super unique about the PTGC staking system is we have found a way to get APY within an asset without that user having to give up custody of that asset for that asset to be used. Because usually when you're paying APY, that asset is needing to be put to work, and that asset needs to be put into lending or liquidity or some use case that's generating revenue, and that's how they're paying you that APY for doing so. But there's a lot of risk. We've seen endless amounts of protocols fail and money be lost due to people chasing APYs. That's why I strongly believe the APY that we have built into PTGC to where users can actually keep custody of their asset actually still working for them.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, and it's huge. Like when you really think about it, like this hadn't really been figured out completely. Like fiat transaction has always been a thing, but it was always dependent on users coming in and out of the protocol. But with the liquidity web structure to where we can actually generate revenue off of up and down movements without having to take the tokens from you and having to put those tokens while they remain in your wallet, I think is bigger than most people even realize here on chain yet. I think when Pulse Chain gets more adoption and a lot more people actually see what we're doing here, it starts to click. There is ways to generate self-custody, and for a store of value system for large players who want their value to work for them, this is huge. Because I not know of a system to where your value that you own can actually be put to work, but you still have all that value. And PTGC is very unique for having that design. For example, Richard, I don't think, even though to earn him APY, he wasn't willing to give it up to earn it, is what I would guess.
Yeah, there's no way he would risk investors' funds, that amount of money, to stake it, and not have access to the crypto. It's not in his wallet. He doesn't, so he's lent it out just to earn a percentage of yield because the risk is there that not your keys, not your coins type thing. And yeah, it was always completely against that. But then also the other positive that you tweeted out a couple of days ago, whenever it was, around the security. So if someone hacks your wallet, it's actually a lot more difficult for the hackers to steal your coins if they're staked and locked, even though they're sitting in your wallet, which is awesome. So that was a real cool thing to hear about.
Yeah, we were talking about that for like 15 minutes in the beginning. Yeah, we were talking about that for like 15 minutes, and I was bringing up that that wasn't done by design, that the locking was actually, it was a protection against the user themselves, right? You in crypto usually are your own worst enemy, right? The emotions that crypto run through, price appreciation very quick, price drops very, very quick. You could have the right protocol and everything else in your portfolio could be doing so bad that one right thing, when that right thing goes up 5x, a lot of users will sell that right thing to compensate themselves for the other losses. And the truth is, the one right thing is the last thing you should be selling, right? The one right thing is the one you should actually let ride. Sadly, in crypto, there is so many assets that fail. Sometimes it is the right idea to sell when in profits if you don't have real conviction in this play. But with PTGC, we believe the real success of it isn't short term, it's long term, very similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So by adding the locking mechanism, we're actually protecting users from themselves and helping them with delayed gratification for increasing APY to themselves, showing the strength of the community via on-code showing users are actually locked, helps with growth and sustainability. But the feature that actually is standing out to me right now is the fact that it's actually created a protection layer for self-custody, because this is the fourth time that we've had the instance where someone's connected to a bad dApp and their entire wallet has been drained for everything besides their locked PTGC. So the locked PTGC has actually, the mechanism within PTGC has turned into not only a protection mechanism against the user themselves for delayed gratification, but it's turned into a protection mechanism against people draining people's wallets as well. And if your wallet gets drained, usually what we've seen is the user is able to actually revoke the access that they gave to this drainer. And when they revoke it, they can actually then resend themselves PLS, and they can actually go and get that value. And I usually would just suggest the locking fee and sending it to a new wallet, even though they're probably good at this point. Just don't like the fact that, you know, there's been a drainer inside your wallet, even though
the wallet's been compromised.
But the wallet's been compromised, even though it's probably fine at that point that you've taken away access. But the point is, alone, I didn't even think of that, but I think it's more powerful than people realize, is the fact that you now have this store of value asset that's paying you APY, that's protecting you from yourself, and actually is protecting you against wallet drainers as well, more than the standard asset that exists in crypto. It's obviously not bulletproof. Like, obviously they could figure out how to unlock real quick or be skilled enough to but what we found is they're not. As of right now, they're not. They might smarten up, etc. But even just a protection layer, even if that protection layer doesn't, it's like almost like putting inside your house, you can either put the money on the counter, so when someone breaks into your house, it's right there for them, or you could put it in the safe. So at least they have to dig around your house and look for the safe and either rip the safe out the wall or carry the safe out the thing or cut into the safe. We can actually make it a little bit more difficult. And it's super cool that the code base has actually made it so difficult for these malicious people that have been unable to actually access the value source of PTGC.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone's been in that situation, but I have. I've had a wallet drained. Your stomach just sinks. You know, your heart drops out of your chest, and it's a shit feeling. But if your biggest asset in there is PTGC and it's staked and locked, I know this happened for Hex as well. It was a bit of a safety net when Hex was staked, that it was difficult for the drainers to get Hex as well. But you had to make sure you revoked everything and you did the right things to be able to safely move it away from that wallet. But yeah, it's huge. It's actually a huge feature that Zen, you didn't realize that was the intended purpose, but it's just an extra bonus feature. Just really cool.
Yeah, it's saved, I think, 4 people I know of as of now, where not saved, like everything else in their wallet got drained, which I feel horrible about.
Yeah,
that's only a fraction of their portfolio. But yeah. I'm super happy that the code of PTGC protected at least a portion of their portfolio, so then they can at least hold something and see where that something gets them over a period of time, right? It's obviously not their whole entire portfolio, but it really does only take one to change someone's life. And, you know, obviously it's our goal as a community to get PTGC to the level to where even I think this user had $7,000 of PTGC locked and was able to get that asset back. Everything else from his wallet was taken, but the PTGC was safe. And if we can make it to where $7,000 of PTGC is life-changing amounts of money, obviously I bet he still wishes he had everything else, but at least we were able to protect those funds, keep those funds in the user, our actual holder's wallet, and change that holder's life than just giving it away to a thief who's just going to sell it on the market right then.
Well, $7,000 can easily turn into 700,000 over the next 3 to 6 months, and that might be everything you needed to be financially free from this point. You never know. So how it all plays out, but it just also lends into the fact that the believers in PTGC and UFO, the ones that hold, the ones that don't sell their coins too early or too quickly, they're not the TikTok generation. They're the ones that really believe in DeFi, that have found Pulse Chain, understand what Richard Hart's about. So it just lends into long-term investing, not short-term in and out, trying to get a quick buck, pay double the amount of tax to what you would if you held it over a year. Like all of those things lend to a serious long-term investor, not a 15-second TikTok Solana, bro. If I'm allowed to say that.
Been on for almost 2 hours then.
Yeah, if no one else, I'm ready. Got some dinner I want to eat. But if anyone has any questions or anything they want to add before we go, we can run through that stuff real quick and then we'll shut it down.
Nope. Have a good dinner and thanks, guys. Love these talks.
Yeah, thanks for hopping in again. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Kuhn, thanks for coming in and adding to the conversation. I appreciate it also.
Yeah, no worries. Anytime. Love these combos.
Cool.
All right, Banan, we got anything else on YouTube or are we good?
We're good. We're good on YouTube. I'll answer your question in a second, Joshua. Yeah, man. Go eat your supper.
Okay, cool. Sweet, guys. Yeah, thanks for co-hosting with you guys. Let's hope some good news comes from tomorrow, and let's see where the week takes us.
Yes, sir. All right, man.
Totally. See you soon. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. All right, Josh. Let's talk about price prediction. Okay, he won't give a price prediction. What he'll do is he'll lead you to the answer like I'm about to do for you. And if you jump on my stream on Wednesday and Sundays, we at the end of it, we always go and do some moon math. But I'll tell you, right now, if you go to, let's pull this up. If you go to Dex Screener and flip and go to the PTDC WPLS pair, you can just go to this pair, and that one's good enough. And then look at the chart in WPLS terms, not in USD terms. And let's change it from a daily to a weekly. And then look at this asset. It is up since the second week. It's up 236,000% against Pulse. We hit 1-to-1 with Pulse at the end of August last year, and now we're at 7-to-1. So at the end of August, it cost 1 Pulse per PGDC. Now it costs 7. We have been as high as 22 right here back in, was that February or March? February. We're just a fuzz over 22, almost 23 PLS per PTDC. And that means that this token is strong, moving up against the L1 that has been going down the whole time. There are not too many assets on Pulse Chain that are doing this. So price prediction is, so what you've got is an asset that is moving up against the L1 at a number of X's. Let's call that 7X against the L1. And if the L1 pulse chain does a modest 100X, you take the 100X and multiply it times the 7X, and you come up with 700X. And you take 700 and multiply that times the current price, 0.12327, and you come up with 19 cents. Okay. So you can do your own price prediction, if you will, just by forecasting the number of X's you think PCDC could do. And I think 7 is modest. I think that it, like in my opinion, a 100X for pulse chain is modest. We got mailers going out, hitting mailboxes like millions, and we just started. So what was that? 7 times 1, up to 700X for PCDC. I think that's modest. But there you go. I hope that helps. Yeah, we're going to shut it down, man. Go. You were thinking 18 cents? Whoa, man. That's funny. You just came up with that off the top of your head. That's uncanny, man. Yeah, I came up with 18.9 to be exact, but you know, it's really close. Well, cool. Yeah, if you want to learn more, jump into the Telegram. I've got a Telegram you can jump into, but the main Telegram is right here. If you're not in it yet, if you want mine, there's the main. Oops. And there's mine. And I do a full like walkthrough presentation on Wednesday at, it'll be 12 Eastern. And I'll do it again on Sunday it'll be like 4 Eastern or maybe 5. So 2 Mountain. All right. Yeah, you're welcome, Josh. All right, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you all around the block.